This is Ashley Eckstein, Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi. I'm your host, Dan Zehr, and I am delighted to talk Star Wars with you. Since May 2013, I've been committed to creating a positive, family-friendly, spoiler-free place for our Star Wars community. Imagine walking into your favorite coffee shop and joining a lively discussion about Star Wars films, Disney Plus live action, animation, books, comics, collectibles, or Star Wars experiences at the Disney theme parks. I want to bring that sense of community to this podcast, my website, special events, live video experiences, email newsletter, and more. Join our Star Wars community at coffeewithkenobi.com and be part of something special. Thank you to the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Check out coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel for a no-cost, no obligation quote, and let them know Coffee with Kenobi and Dan Zehr sent you. On today's show, we're going to do something really special in the month of August. We will certainly be taking some time to talk about the events and announcements at the D23 event, August 9th, 10th, and 11th in Anaheim, California. But the majority of August is going to be all about members of the CWK Alliance and CWK Pour-Over shows. Now, if you've been listening, whether you're a member of the CWK Alliance or not, you are certainly aware of CWK Pour-Over. That is the exclusive weekly audio and video podcast for members of the CWK Alliance. The CWK Alliance is our Patreon page. It's the place to go to support me and the show, and you get audio and video not heard anywhere else. What I'm going to do the month of August is I'm going to go back into the archives of CWK Pour-Over, and I'm going to share here with you on the Coffee with Kenobi podcast feed some of our most popular, requested, and enjoyable conversations about the world of Star Wars, and we might throw in a couple of bonus episodes of CWK Pour-Over for you completely free of charge. I'm very excited about it. Naturally, I hope it will be something to show you a little bit more about what it is to be a member of the CWK Alliance and the kind of entertainment opportunities available to you when you become a member. So that's why August is going to be all about you walking into the shoes of what it's like to be a member of the CWK Alliance and hearing some of our most popular CWK Pour-Over episodes. Today's show is going to be where we talk about our top 5 favorite Jedi as we go into detail about why we feel that way, and we try to explain our thoughts. When I say we, I mean myself, Cory Clubb, the co-creator of Coffee with Kenobi, and our very good friend, Tom Gross, who no doubt you have heard on the show many times over the years. This episode was originally released on August 29th, 2022 on CWK Pour-Over's audio feed. But now you get to hear it for free. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some Coffee with Kenobi, CWK Alliance style.
Coffee, tea, or me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's Coffee with Kenobi.
Well, hello there, friends, and welcome back to CWK Pour-Over. This is your weekly exclusive show for members of the CWK Alliance. I am one of your hosts, Dan Zehr, thrilled to be joined by my other little buddies. First, Mr. Cory Clubb.
Hello. Exciting to always talk about all kinds of craziness. I'm excited about the topic tonight. Oh, boy.
Yes.
It's a good one.
It is a good one. Speaking of good ones, you know him.
Oh.
He's the teacher in the dungeon, Tom Gross.
Yes, that is me. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here for the weekly laugh.
That's right, the weekly laugh, the golden laugh. So we were actually having a hard time debating. No, we didn't really debate. We couldn't think of a topic. And I thought, well, maybe we should do some Star Warsy stuff. We understand that not all of you who are listening to Pour-Over as members of the CWK Alliance are able to join us at Celebration. We understand that, but we still want to bring you some Star Wars goodness. It's not necessarily related to Celebration. We just want you to have some fun with Star Wars, which is why many of you support the show and support us anyway. So we're going to give our top 5 favorite Jedi. Yeah. And this is, guys, I'm just going to start. Look, This is a horrible, cruel joke. It's impossible.
Horrible.
There are like at least 12 that could be in my top 5. I wonder every time I add one and eliminate another, it's like, oh, I can't eliminate this person. I can't eliminate this Jedi. It was not easy. It was not easy at all. But we'll just kind of see how it goes. And to be honest, I had a piece of paper and I threw it away. So I'm just going to go off my head and see where my heart takes me. I know, because my honorable mention list is going to be huge.
No ties.
No, there won't be ties. There won't be ties. Oh, look at that. Tom, how do you feel about this topic? And tell us about your list.
Well, I thought it was fun until I started making it.
Yeah.
And so I got a little frustrated and a little angry at the limit of 5, knowing Cory's no ties
policy.
So I had to consult the ultimate.
Oh.
Yes.
I had to consult this book, which I realized I'm going to have to take it to Celebration to find someone to sign this thing.
Yeah, you should. I think Amy, I could get you in touch with Amy.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
And so I found it. So then I started like splitting hairs on, is that person really a Jedi? Is this person? And it really became a challenge.
Oh, I did.
So I don't know that I have 12 honorable mentions, but I've got several that could easily, on the right day, with a recent viewing of certain movies or programs or conversations, they could easily bump into that top 5. But I want to say my top 2 or 3 are probably pretty consistent, and you could probably guess them. So we'll go with that.
Okay. Mine is not consistent, apparently. Because we'll get to that. Cory, what about you?
I agree. It's interesting you took the perspective of, are they Jedi? And I hadn't even thought about that. Like, in my mind, they are Jedi, these people I picked. And now I'm kind of rethinking. But that's okay. I'm going with what I'm locking in. And these are just like, to me, these are personal favorites. I went very personal on these because I feel like these are characters I like to hear the stories about. These are the characters that I have kind of fandom touch points within my fandom. I feel like that's the case. This isn't necessarily the most top 5 powerful Jedis or the top 5 coolest Jedis, whatever. I mean, these are all great Jedis. But this is a list that was made by me for me.
Yeah, I mean, if favorite Jedi and best Jedi are very, very different ideas. So I guess my list was sort of cultivated based on the idea of not necessarily my favorite, but which Jedi have the biggest impact on the saga. That's kind of how I created my list, which is sort of a different idea. But I don't know. We'll try to explain it the way that we do, I guess.
I will say, Cory, if I'm interpreting your touch points correctly, that's kind of how I did mine too. I thought of instances of the story, and I was like, that makes this person fit this list for me.
Yeah.
So, very, very personal.
Gotcha.
I guess mine's sort of like that too. We'll see. Oh, Cory, you sound good. All right, good deal.
Thank you.
All right.
I changed my tweaks.
Yes.
I took my microphone.
Cory, why don't you start? Give us your number 5.
Okay. Yeah. Ooh. So I brought visual aids. If you've got the video version of our show here, I have my first one up. This is actually, Tom also has it up behind him. This is our good friend, Ahsoka Tano. She is a Jedi, or started to be a Jedi. And, I think her current status within the bounds of live action and Mandalorian, I don't know where she stands. It's an interesting conversation. I'd be curious to expand upon that in that realm. But for me, the standout moment for her and what makes her a top 5 for me is the last season of Clone Wars. And I think she just owned that entire last season. Her duel with Darth Maul, that was just her. I love when she was in the attack and she jumped out of the starship or the what do you call it? The anyway, she jumps out and she like does this flip in the air. She's like slicing things in the air and she lands and there's explosions behind her. I was like, wow.
Epic.
I didn't even think about her journey as a Jedi. Even up to leaving the Jedi way and seeing her transition into Fulcrum and Rebels, and until we see her today. It's just like she's had such a journey. Can you call her a Jedi? I think you can because of her history in Clone Wars. So there's number 5 for me, Ahsoka Tano.
Cool. Tom, what about you for number 4?
Okay.
Oh, sorry, for number 5.
Me,
number 5.
My number 5 is Rey Skywalker.
Oh,
Rey is
man.
Rey is. I got that out of your book, mister.
I know. I just forgot. Oh, man, my list is awful.
Oh, no. I have a feeling he's
right.
I don't know if he's playing what up or
this was so hard.
I know.
I chose Rey. First of all, I've got several pictures of Rey around my office. Mm-hmm. She's my daughter's here, Star Wars hero. And I just will never forget watching those movies with Rey, but then also just how she sort of changed the way, I guess, I don't know. I guess it was, I don't know. I hate to make the comparison, but it was that sort of that Luke Skywalker story. Rey kind of had the same beginnings, but it ends very differently. And just how do you have the sequels without Rey being the center of it? And her story, I don't like to think that her story is over by any means. Mm-hmm. And so she's my number 5 top Jedi, Rey Skywalker. Plus, she's got a killer lightsaber.
Yes, she does.
Tom, every time I think of Rey, I do think of your daughter. And she dresses up. She dressed up for Indiana Comic-Con, I think.
She did.
That's right. Star Wars, her hair cool and stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yep. Star Wars Reads Days. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you've really thrown a wrinkle in my list because I didn't think about including Rey, because Rey is definitely a wonderful Jedi. Rats. So when I told Mason about this list, he said, "Didn't we do this before?" We did do it actually for CWK Live years ago. But like with all these lists, they change all the time, and I don't know if we ever got to get your two's perspective on it. So fair enough. So my number 5 favorite Jedi is Clone Wars Anakin Skywalker. I didn't think I was going to put Anakin on my list. I don't often think of him as a Jedi, even though he's obviously the ultimate Jedi in many ways, as far as power and ability and potential, because you often think of Anakin as Vader, which is not a Jedi. But Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars you can't keep your eyes off him when he's on screen. He's very exciting. He does some incredible, daring things as a Jedi. He's very, very brave. I don't know, he's reckless in the Clone Wars. He's just very confident. I joked with Mike Chen, the author of Star Wars Brotherhood, last week. While Obi-Wan may have a bit of a crisis of, am I worthy of being who I am? Anakin doesn't have that problem. He's pretty confident, but he's really captivating, and he does some really cool things. And so that's why he's my number 5.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan, the fact that I don't think of him necessarily when I rank Jedi or think of Jedi. I don't think Anakin Skywalker, but you're right. He is kind of the ultimate Jedi. He is the one.
He is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then we're back to you for 4.
Yes, sir. So my number 4, this Jedi to me, our show is called Coffee with Kenobi, but this Jedi I think is closer to us in memory for me as being kind of, I don't know. I feel like he's really a kinship to our show as far as we go back, Dan, and that is Kanan Jarrus. This is I got Kanan Jarrus here. He's not opened. I didn't open his Black Series here, which I had to dig that out of my collection. But Kanan Jarrus, to me, Freddie Prinze Jr. also a kind of a cool connection I think that we've had, Dan, over the years with him. I think that's just. I remember he came out. He was called the Cowboy Jedi, and Dave Filoni had said that he's kind of like kind of a rebellious type guy. He's shooting from the hip, doesn't use his lightsaber very often. That was kind of the motif around when he was first introduced. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. He's just doesn't, rejects the Jedi ways. He's kind of doing his own thing. He's this cool voice, man. He's Freddie Prinze Jr. And as we got into that show, he just comes a long way becoming, the rebel Jedi into the mentor Jedi. And I think that's just a great transition for his character, for that show, for that family-oriented style of that group. And I just come to love him so much because of his arc. He has just got a great arc in that show. And of course, to me, he just, I don't know, he just comes synopsis with this show, and Freddie Prinze being on and just having those memories has been great for me over the years. So, number 4, Ken and Jarrus.
Hey, I'm not going to complain about that one.
Man, couple things.
Did you forget about him too?
Oh no,
I didn't forget about him. You guys, both of your choices are so hard to believe that. Well, anyway,
I know this is probably the cruelest thing I've ever done as a podcaster.
It was a lot of fun doing. And Cory, I'm so jealous that I don't have visual aids. How did I forget and fail to not have visual aids? What was I thinking? All right. My number 4 is somebody that was actually surprised myself that this was one of my tops. And as I built my list, this individual stayed at this number 4 spot the entire time. And that is Avar Kriss of the High Republic.
Yeah.
When I think of the High Republic, I will never, maybe someday when I get really old, but I will never get the imagery that was in my head when she first uses the Song of the Force and her lightsaber. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my picture. Her lightsaber is spinning in the air and she's connecting with Jedi across the galaxy to use the Force to move that thing, container or whatever it is, out of its trajectory to save a planet, to save. Oh, they're the heroes of.
Are you talking about from Light of the Jedi?
Yes. Anyway.
Yeah.
I will never, her use of this Song of the Force just captivates me. And she uses it a couple different times going forward into the books. And she used it in the comics as well, I believe. But I just love that concept. And I think she's just a cool character, very wholesome, but she's pushed to her limits. Again, giving some people some time. I know the books have been out for a while, but it's difficult sometimes to get through all this, so I don't want to drop anything here. But she is pushed to her limits, and I just really, really like the way they've written her character and created and developed her character. So Avar Kriss of the High Republic is my number 4 top Jedi.
I love that you put a High Republic because I was thinking about doing it too. Because I like Elzar Mann, I like Stellan Gios a lot.
Yep.
Gosh, that's great. That's a nice surprise. My number 4 is something of a surprise to me because even though the history of the show and things like that, I don't often think of this character as one of my favorite Star Wars characters, but number 4 for me is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I don't necessarily have a specific version of him. The Alec Guinness version, of course, the McGregor ones, James Arnold Taylor. I know there's just a lot of hype with him because of what's going to happen, next month with the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series. Plus, he's just legendary and iconic in so many ways. Mike Chen's new book is a great way to enjoy Obi-Wan Kenobi. But he's not perfect, and he doesn't strive to be, but he's very human. He's very relatable. He's very otherworldly. Sometimes he's like a superhero. And I just like the wise mentor concept of him. I love his lightsabers, all of them. I like his smooth, cool confidence. He's got a bit of I won't say he's mischievous, but he's got a bit of a dry, sarcastic wit at times too, which of course I like. And so it just, I didn't think I'd put Obi-Wan on my list, but he's on there. Obi-Wan Kenobi, number 4.
Appropriate. Nice. Yes. Love it.
Cory, back to you. Number 3.
Yeah. Number 3 for me. This again, Tom, I agree with you. This is one I didn't expect on my list, and it stayed on my list. That kind of mentality of but it's interesting enough because as I thought through Jedi, I thought, okay, we have option to use, different media here. We can list outside the bounds of the films and whatever. And my number 3 is also Avar Kriss.
Really?
From the High Republic.
Wow!
I loved this character. Just the way she was written by Charles Soule in this book, the way he talked about her using the Force, like a song, and just to me, you could tell there was a beauty to it, but also a power to it. And I was just I've never thought about the Force this way, and somebody like you said, who you would put it right, like wholesome in the sense of like she's so like pure, like the fact that like she is almost like so righteous in what she's doing, even though it's action and adventure, but. I was reading up on some of the other Jedi, and this came across somebody else had used, and she uses her Force almost like a Spidey sense too, to kind of sense danger.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. I mean, like I never thought like the way that the Force is always used, always think, oh, it's just like through classic Star Wars characters, but like the way it's written here in this book and for this character just really made her stand out for me. And like you said, I haven't got through the rest of this series, but I'm looking forward to seeing more adventures of her, and also the comic series as well. So. Ava Chris, yes. I'm so glad. I'm glad she's on my list because I feel like, man, that's a great pick. So
interesting.
There you go.
Ava Chris doesn't really do much for me for whatever reason. So I'm glad that she really affected both of you. That's cool.
Interesting.
I do like the song aspect of it for sure. All right. Is this your number 3?
This is number 3. Okay. This is another one that I didn't really. This is one that I wasn't expecting to put on my list. Kind of like your Obi-Wan Kenobi, Dan. Yeah. And Luke Skywalker is my number 3. And when I was with Luke, what it comes down to is 2 moments in his lore. And that the first is at the beginning of when he enters Jabba's palace as a Jedi Knight. And he walks in and he just he raises the door, lets the door shut. He walks up to the Gamorrean guards and just dismisses them. I'll never forget sitting in the theater with my buddy Eric Larson, and we were both like, "Oh yeah!" We're like punching each other, going, "Yes, he's a Jedi Knight!" And just thinking how awesome that was. That like Luke Skywalker has got it, and then he like even when he struggles in Return of the Jedi, he still is a boss, and I really like that. The moment in my mind that puts him here at number 3 is. We've talked about this, Dan, you and I can't remember, Cory, if you were there when we talked about it or not, but it was when he shows up in the last episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and he walks through Moff Gideon's ship and just decimates everything. Like nothing is a challenge to him, and he just owns it. And I'm like, that is when I think of a Jedi, that is what I think of. He just somebody who can take control of the situation and own it, even though there's danger all around. And that's what puts Luke Skywalker number 3 on my list.
Excellent. Number 3 for me is the oldest Jedi on my list. He's 900.
Oh wow.
He's the diminutive, wise Yoda, the Grand Master Jedi. Yes. I love Yoda. I'm noticing as I'm making my list, by the way, these are not my top 5 favorite Star Wars characters. These are my top 5 favorite Jedi. As far as what they bring to the Force, what I learn about the Force through them, what I understand about the Force because of them. And there's no one better than Yoda. Yoda is honestly one of my great muses as an educator. Jesus is one, of course, the one. And then it sounds funny to even put them in the same sense, but then with Yoda, in a fictional way, some of the things that he says, I think, come from an honest spiritual place. Like honestly, I think when Rian Johnson or George Lucas or Lawrence Kasdan create words for Yoda to say, or Dave Filoni, they come from another place. There's a spiritual quality and an insight to understanding what really matters about the world and what doesn't. Plus his scene where he fights Count Dooku is among the coolest moments in the history of cinema to me, and the way it impacted me. Yeah. Yoda's pretty special, and that's why he's my number 3.
It's a good pick.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like we're picking a fantasy baseball team or something.
We are.
That's right.
Like,
we are.
Darn, I didn't think about it.
Sure. All right, Cory, number 2.
Number 2, it's already been mentioned, but this is an obvious one for me. This was like a no-brainer. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and like for all the reasons you said, Dan, and the fact that here he is, bobblehead. This is my Jat signed bobblehead, Funko Pop from last celebration we were at in Chicago, and Kenobi to me, it's funny because I envision Ian McGregor playing him in episode 1, and I remember as a fan that Phantom Menace trailer that came out, and I remember seeing like, wait, that's a young Obi-Wan Kenobi? That's so odd to me. Like it doesn't seem like it like transition, but like as a young fan and knowing that was the next story that was going to be told, and from their perspective, I thought, okay, I can get behind it. It was just cool. I felt like, I didn't get a chance to go see the original Star Wars movies in trailer or in the theaters, and I feel like this was my chance, and this was kind of new. That experience was new to me, and this was the Jedi for that film, and so it was exciting for me to think back to that. But I love him throughout all his incarnations. They're all fantastic, and again, synonymous with our show again. Just it goes hand in hand. I love Kenobi. I love the fact that he, like you mentioned, Dan, he's flawed. He doesn't do things correctly necessarily, and he has to think about things before he jumps into a situation. And that's kind of how I am too. I think I feel like I need to think through things before I jump into a situation. And it's interesting to see him thrust into that role of being a mentor when he maybe wasn't so ready to do that. So, again, there's a lot of growth there, an interesting perspective. I'm excited for the new series to see what they'll do with him there. And of course, it's just like it never gets old. He just keeps kind of popping up and doing his thing, and it's interesting that he's the way he is as far as in Star Wars. So, Obi-Wan Kenobi. There you go.
Awesome. Fantastic.
I love it.
All right, Tom, you're number 2.
Number 2, jumping right in, Ahsoka Tano. There are few characters in the Star Wars saga that, so many great and wonderful characters, but there are a few that make me, when they walk onto the screen or they appear, wherever they are, make me sit up and pay attention because I know something cool is likely to happen. And my last 2 are like that. And Ahsoka is one of them. And the crazy thing, and I wonder how many people have the same experience. I couldn't stand her when I first met Ahsoka Tano. I don't know why. I just found her to be unexpected and unappreciated. I didn't appreciate her. And but I feel like I grew up with her in a different way than you would say like Luke Skywalker or Rey. Ahsoka's story is longer. It's a different format, and we really got to sort of grow with her over many years and many episodes of the Clone Wars. She crosses over into Rebels. We see another path there of Ahsoka Tano. Then she crosses into The Mandalorian. We jump many years forward. And there she is again. And I just think she is one unique character that we sort of hold our hands with her through so much. And she crosses through so many important Star Wars moments. And she's at some really critical junctures too. Case in point, as you said, Cory, season 7 of Clone Wars. So many moments there. I'm like, oh my gosh, that she was, things like that. But 2 pivotal moments that really put her at number 2 for me. One is season 7, very similar, very close to the same scene you're talking about, Cory. Or maybe you did say this when she starts the battle with Maul in that throne room, and you get that profile with the windows in the background, and Ahsoka's on one side, Maul's on the other. The cinematography, the image, the picture they create there tells me this is a major Star Wars battle, and Ahsoka Tano is there for it. The second moment of Ahsoka Tano that really solidifies her in this list is when she has that conversation with Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian.
In the book of Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett.
Oh yeah.
And it's such, to me, that's a legendary. Luke Skywalker is a legendary Star Wars character, and Ahsoka Tano is like a great Star Wars character. When she talks to Luke Skywalker, that to me that puts her onto that legendary list. She has this conversation. He questions himself and goes to her for the not the answer, but just the like validation that he's doing the right thing. I'm like, oh my gosh. That puts her at number 2 for me. I love the character Ahsoka Tano.
Nice. So actually, before we even did the show, you and I were talking at school earlier, and there was a very brief discussion about, well, is Ahsoka a Jedi? Yeah, she is.
Mm-hmm.
She is.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 for me is one I didn't think I would put at number 2. I don't often think of this person when I think of my favorite Jedis, and not because he's not a fantastic Jedi. In fact, legend is the only description for Luke Skywalker. He's my number 2.
Yes.
The reason I didn't think of him originally is because I don't know why. I mean, I love Luke, and Luke is probably my favorite character in the original trilogy that isn't named Darth Vader. But when I think about the 2 moments that hit me over the head harder in the world of Star Wars, as far as how much I love it, it's The Last Jedi when Luke appears and takes on the First Order. Still my favorite moment in all of cinema ever. And then Luke's appearance at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, when I lost my absolute mind just thinking about seeing him show up. Those 2 moments were so powerful, and they can only be powerful if that character moves you. And Luke Skywalker moves me and inspires me and gets me so excited as a fan of this franchise and mythology in general and the hero's journey. He's spectacular. Mason said he would have put Luke really high on his list from Return of the Jedi, which I love. Luke, you mentioned Luke in that for asset. I love him in The Empire Strikes Back, but he's monumentally important in inspiring in so many ways. So Luke is my number 2.
Cool.
Very cool.
Okay, so now it's time.
Number 1.
Your number 1, Cory Bartholomew Club.
It's Yaddle from Episode 1
Ooh.
Star Wars. No, it's not. No, not at all. That's although a great Jedi. No, my number 1 is obviously Luke Skywalker.
Oh, cool.
This was the latest little Funko I got, and actually this glows in the dark. Pretty cool that. This is Luke
nice.
and the Mandalorian season 2, and he, like you mentioned, that scene where he comes in and takes out the droid, the Dark Troopers. But yeah, Luke to me is the Jedi, first Jedi I ever met as a fan. Got to know and learn through books, through movies, through comic books, through everything. So like he kicked it off for me as a fan, and I remember, like you mentioned, the throne room sequence with Jabba the Hutt, entering, and he's got the cloak, and you think he's bad, but he's really not. But the one that sticks out to me is where he's on the edge of Jabba's ship, ready to jump into the sand, and then he does the motion to R2. The lightsaber shoots out. You get a green lightsaber. I mean, that's just you're as a fan, as if you've followed Luke through this series of events, your heart just soars, and it's fantastic. It's a great moment in Star Wars cinema, and in general, I think Luke, he's interesting because he is also a flawed Jedi as well. I think I see him in the sequel trilogy as a flawed Jedi and trying to deal with what has gone on there, but also trying to rise above that and become something better. You mentioned the scene where he takes on the First Order, also an excellent sequence in a sense of just trying to own what he's trying to get done, and in general just leave a legacy. That's the thing too, is I feel like you read books and stuff about where Luke is not in, and they mention that name, and you're like, oh yeah, it's Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, oh the Jedi. It's just like he's a legacy. He's a legend, like you said. He'll live forever in Star Wars fandom and in that era. He's touched it forever, and it will forever be his to kind of be that legacy. So to me, that he is number 1 Jedi in my list.
Love it.
Cool. All right, that's a trifecta on Luke Skywalker, right?
Yeah, I honestly don't know what you're going to say for your number 1, Tom, because I thought you were going to say Ahsoka, so I'm interested.
Yeah, I thought you were Ahsoka too.
Okay. Well, I've talked about
Yaddle, right?
This character. No, but he's a great Jedi. I'm actually going to. I'm going to make it a trifecta for this character as well, because both of you have him on your list, and that is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, cool.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think, showed up on when we talked about our favorite characters in Star Wars. He's my favorite character, and he's my favorite Jedi. It comes clear. It starts way back in 1977 with Alec Guinness, as you mentioned, Dan. Just as a 7-year-old watching that, there is a grandfather figure that is calm. He's at peace with very stressful situations. He goes and does the dangerous job, shutting down the tractor beam, and he faces Vader, and we lose him. And that really touched me as a 7-year-old. Didn't really understand what happened and why he did that, but knowing the character, I as a kid was at peace with it as well. As an adult, Obi-Wan Kenobi solidified as my top Star Wars character, and he really hasn't. I may have moments where I might switch it out every now and then, but anytime anybody asks me my favorite Star Wars character, my go-to is always Obi-Wan because of the Clone Wars. The General Kenobi, I like that aspect of his character when he's not a Jedi, but he's a wise commander or general in this case. I think he's so cool as a commander of fleet, as a commander of, there he is. Yep. As a general of, a leader of a clone group. What is Cody is his clone, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I just love the relationship he has with Cody. Very respectful. I think he's the first one I made the realization that he treats the clones like people and not just soldiers. But this leads to a little bit of what you guys were talking about with Obi-Wan Kenobi and sort of his personality. What I like about Obi-Wan Kenobi is he has a very practical approach to the Force and being a Jedi. I think he makes exceptions for practicality and for realistic reasons rather than sticking to a philosophy or a belief so hard that you're making the wrong decisions for the sake of your order. I feel like Obi-Wan Kenobi makes some exceptions, and it doesn't surprise me because his master was Qui-Gon Jinn, who was very questioning of the Jedi Order, and so Obi-Wan they played that throughout. In fact, if you were to say that Yoda and most Jedi are lawful good, I would argue that Obi-Wan Kenobi is a chaotic good Jedi.
Really?
Because he loves the Order. He'll do everything he can. He'll do everything he can for the good of it, but he's willing to step over the line to do what's right instead of to do what's right for the Jedi. I don't think
I would say that's lawful good.
Anakin Skywalker gets away with marrying Padme.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Right.
That's true.
No, lawful good to me though is like you're gonna follow the rules.
Yeah. Oh, we just got a topic.
You follow the rules at. Yeah, I mean, that would be a cool topic. But I don't think, and this is where some of the chaotic comes in, I don't feel like Anakin Skywalker would have been allowed, or not allowed, but would have ever gotten away with marrying Padme if anyone else was his master. I mean, it was obvious. Obi-Wan Kenobi knows it. One of my favorite moments is when in season 7, Anakin's in like the storage trailer and Rex is keeping watch, and Obi-Wan walks up. When they're walking away, Obi-Wan makes some sort of comment to Rex that like, I know what you're doing. And Rex does that like double take. It's such a great one. So, and also there's also the hint that Obi-Wan has, whether it's romantic or not, he certainly has an interest in Duchess Satine. I don't see any other Jedi having that. That's where some of the my feeling of chaotic comes in. And it's the realism of the Force that Obi-Wan has. I think it's a cool conversation. I love the idea. Maybe we should talk about lawful good versus chaotic good in terms of
Star Wars.
Different Jedi. But Obi-Wan Kenobi is my number one.
It's great. I didn't expect that, but now it makes sense. After you said, I'm like, well, I should have thought of that. All right, so you had Luke. You had Obi-Wan. And my number one is Ahsoka Tano. It's easy for me. Nice. I mean, it really is. I think she... So, I'm going to mention, before I talk about Ahsoka, the ones that hit the cutting room floor, Qui-Gon Jinn, Rey, and Kanan Jarrus. breaks my ever-loving heart to not, because when it comes to Star Wars characters, I would put them much, much higher. But when it comes to Jedi Knights, now Kanan's terrific. Ezra is terrific.
Yeah, Ezra.
But Ahsoka, to me, Ahsoka and Qui-Gon are the closest to the actual idea of Jedi more than any of the Jedi in this franchise. Ahsoka sticks to her beliefs. She doesn't compromise, even when everyone turns against her and kicks her out of the order. Well, they don't kick her out; she walks away. But they're ready to just abandon her because they don't trust her, they don't believe her, and she knows that that's wrong. She knows she's good. She fights for what is right, no matter. She's definitely lawful good. I mean, she's like Captain America, honestly. She's like Captain America in Civil War in the Siege of Mandalore, as far as sticking to her guns and believing in what is right, even when everyone tells her that she's wrong. Because she just knows she has the perfect moral compass. Her love, her compassion for her friends, for her family, her incredible, incredible skill with the lightsaber and her abilities with the Force, her friendship with Rex. And it took me a while, but I've all in on Rosario Dawson now as Ahsoka as well. Of course, Ashley is great. Rosario is too. It just brings a different layer, a different idea to Ahsoka Tano. And seeing her interact with Luke Skywalker in the Book of Boba Fett was transcendent and almost religious to me. It was spectacular to see these two living legends. And Luke deferring to her and looking for her approval. And in my mind, Luke has a small crush on Ahsoka Tano because, I mean, come on. It's just pretty great. Pretty great. And I just can't wait to see it. And the fact that we're going to get an Ahsoka series, I'm more excited about the Obi-Wan series and the Ahsoka series than anything else in Star Wars for this foreseeable future. So Ahsoka Tano is, even though she says she's not a Jedi, that makes her a Jedi even more because of the humility that comes with that statement as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I had some honorable mentions. I also had Qui-Gon. Yoda was, it was such a heartbreak for me.
Oh.
I don't know. It's just a weird list to me. But Rey Skywalker, Mace Windu, and Loden Greatstorm from Light of Jedi.
Oh, I like Loden.
He's cool. Yep. I could probably add more, but it's just a matter of kind of digging into it and thinking about it more. But good list.
It's hard. Tom, any honorable mentions?
Yes. I want to put Qui-Gon Jinn on my list, but I just feel like I didn't get to know him well enough. And maybe I need to read some books with him.
Sorry, that's wrong.
But I don't know. I just wanted more of him. I really did.
Yeah,
and I think he's a cool character. He's great, but he's not on my cutting floor. Kanan Jarrus is Vernestra from the High Republic. I really want to put her up here. And then this is the one I was like, I don't think it can be on my list, but maybe in the future this individual will make it onto the list, and that's Grogu.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
very cool.
Interesting.
Hard to say. List. Well, hey, let us. He
was a Padawan.
Know. He was a Padawan. Briefly. Who
Padawan.
knows how long that was
Briefly.
for. Be sure to let us know who your top 5 favorite Jedi are. Give us the good reasons why in the CWK Cafe so we can do that. And by the way, Angela Sauce, awesome. She's caught up on Pour-Over, and she was watching Moon Knight with us, and so that's cool. That's what we like, right? We like that kind of stuff. That's fun. You're a community. You are such a big part of the community, members of the CWK Alliance. You truly are living legends and reasons why the Star Wars community is what it is. We thank you for that. We thank you for your support of Coffee with Kenobi, and we also thank you for supporting the children of St. Jude and their families, because 10% of your monthly contributions goes directly to them.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this very special preview of what it's like to listen to an episode of CWK Pour-Over. The website is coffeewithkenobi.com for Star Wars news, announcements, reviews, videos, and more. The official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi is MEI and MouseFan Travel. Check out coffeewithkenobi.com/MouseFanTravel for a no-cost, no-obligation quote. And don't forget, June 16th to the 20th, 2025, that's right, Coffee with Kenobi is going on board the Disney Wish with MEI and MouseFan Travel. It is the same travel experience that we had on the Halcyon summer of 2023, but this time we're going on the Disney Wish, and you are invited to join us. Go to coffeewithkenobi.com/DisneyWish for your no cost, no obligation quote. We really hope you can join us. Even though Facebook Live is no longer a weekly event, you can still get your fix of the Star Wars community through Coffee with Kenobi and our Coffee with Kenobi Facebook group, the CWK Cafe. Go to coffeewithkenobi.com/community for Star Wars thoughts, comments, reviews, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler and drama-free place. As I've been talking about throughout this episode, Coffee with Kenobi is possible because of the members of the CWK Alliance. Thanks to you, this podcast, this website, event coverage, and more comes to life. Find out how you can help the show for as little as $1 a month by joining the CWK Alliance. As a member, you receive access to CWK Pour-Over, the exclusive weekly audio and video podcast not available anywhere else. Members at the CWK Alliance All-Star level receive a video edition of CWK Pour-Over and access to a private Facebook group. Find out how you can support me and get access to these exclusive shows at coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance and join the CWK Alliance. And 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital. You can email me, danz at coffeewithkenobi.com. Connect with me on X at Mr. Zehr, MRZEHR, on Instagram and Threads at DanZehrCWK, and on LinkedIn. Coffee with Kenobi is on social media, including X, Instagram, Threads, Pinterest, and TikTok. Give the show a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi, or subscribe to Coffee with Kenobi's YouTube channel. Please take a couple of minutes to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you like the logo and would like it on a t-shirt, hoodie, laptop cover, or, of course, a coffee mug, go to coffeewithkenobi.com/shop. If you need a speaker for an upcoming event, you can book me to attend your school, conference, business, or organization. I'm happy to talk with you and your group about how to tap into your strengths, bring out your very best, discuss mythology, or customize a presentation to fit your specific needs. You can find that at danzmedia.com. Thank you as always for joining me for a virtual cup of coffee. I appreciate your time and look forward to the next opportunity to talk Star Wars with you. I'm Dan Zehr, reminding you that this is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.